Well, that was an unbelievable song. It leads up to what we're going to talk about tonight. The first thing I want to say is congratulations to Jackie Robinson. And today was his first day in the big leagues. And I think all the teams are wearing number 42. Unfortunately, the Yankees are not wearing 42 tonight. Maybe because they're playing tomorrow night at the stadium, maybe they'll wear Jackie's jersey tomorrow night. But first thing, Dan, I want to introduce you as my future Hall of Fame writer. Okay. And I really do mean this. Okay. And people, fans, we've been working on this book for almost 2 years now, right?
Yeah, I think we started in February of 2019.
And this is actually just the second time I've actually ever met him. We have many, many conversations. Is it right, Dan?
Yeah, we were talking on the phone. Well, we still talk on the phone several times a week. But when we were working on the book, we would talk for at least a couple of hours every couple of days. Just kind of getting it together, and it was hearing all your stories and bringing up topics to ask you about, and we had a lot of fun, and I think we got a really good book out of it.
We did. I had first thing, I just want to let you know, when I did that designated Hebrew, people don't realize what it takes to write a book. Okay. The designated Hebrew, when that came out 2006 or 2007, whatever, it's a long time ago, but it just came out again in 2020 on the paperback, and it did extremely well. And I appreciate the people and to read that book also. But it took a lot of, it really, Dan, it really took a lot of talking back and forth to Dan Schlossberg, who was the co-author of that book also.
Right.
And I said, no, I'm not going to do it anymore. This is all, at least now I can say to people, I became an author.
Right.
And I was so excited because people never realize I barely got out of English class in my high school. I don't even know if I really got my degree, to be honest with you. And when I passed my English course, I think I did, because I never saw my last report card. I don't know if they wanted to show it to me or not, but she would be rolling over in her grave to see that what has happened transpired from 2006 to 2021. And this book, when it finished in 2021, let me first thing real quickly, because we want to talk about the nuts and the bolts of this book a little bit. But basically, people ask me, how did I really get this thing started? It was in fantasy camp.
Really?
And it was in fantasy camp, about 6 or 7 years ago. And when Marty Appel and there was a couple of other writers did Thurman's book, they wrote, I read it, and Marty sent me a free copy, and it was great, and it was a great book. super book.
Really good book.
But it never showed what type of person he actually was. It showed how great a ball player he was, okay? And it showed how mean he was to the writers.
Right.
And, I'm reading all this. And, and he has another half to him. And when Marty Appel and there was other couple of writers went up to Diana and asked her to do the foreword of the book. This is before I even knew that I was even thinking about doing a book, okay?
Right.
We were talking, she was down at Yankee fantasy camp, and we were talking about Thermy, and then we're talking about her and having a great time, in Canton. And, she was doing a lot of different things, and she was working around the house and with her kids. And, so it was nice. It was really great. And I said, Diana, and I thought at that second, and I really never even said to myself I was going to write a book. I said, if I asked you to do something, would you do it? She said, what? I said, I'm thinking about writing a book about Thurman, and I'd like for you to do the foreword of the book. And, and she turned down already the other writers. And that's all I needed. She was going to turn me down, and my ego was just going to be, it was going to die. No, I was thinking about this. Yeah. That's why I never asked for autographs of ball players, because I could see where I asked for some autograph from somebody, and they say, no, I don't give it down. I never asked anybody for an autograph, nobody. But when this book becomes very, very successful like it is, I'm going to ask you for your autograph. Okay, now that's the only autograph. Okay. So I said, Diana, would you write the foreword of the book? And she looked at me, she said, yes. And I said, oh, really? And I'm thinking to myself, I said, I haven't even thought about writing the book yet.
Right.
And I didn't even know, I didn't tell my literary agent that I was thinking about writing a book. And I said, oh no, I got to start all this all over again. And so it was so close. And she said, I would do it for you. I'm not going to do it for you. I wouldn't do it for anybody else. She said, I know how close you were. And I know that if you say something about, Thurman, it's going to be the truth. And I know that you're going to put him on another way that people will realize what type of person that he really was. Okay. So as soon as I got home from Yankee fantasy camp, I spoke to Rob Wilson, who was our literary agent.
Right.
And I said, Rob, I want to write another book. And I started thinking about myself. I want to write a book about designated Hebrew again, how I screwed up the game. It was going to be the title. Already made it up. How I screwed up the game of baseball. Okay.
Right, but by being a designated hitter.
Yeah. How I screwed up the game, And, he said, it's not going to be big enough. Nobody would like to probably buy the book because, everybody knows your story. Okay. So I said, okay. So I brought it out. I said, see if I wrote a book about Thurman. He said, Ron, there's quite a few books that have been written about Thurman quite a few years ago. And Marty Appel just did a real big one. That was a very successful book. And I said, yes, but it talked all about baseball. But I want to talk about on and off the field, what we did on the field and what we did off the field. He said, that's a great idea. I said, okay, who's going to write the book? Who's going to write it? I said, oh, no. I said, talk to Marty. And he said, Marty just wrote the book. He just wrote a book. He said he's not going to do it because he basically is retired.
Right.
And I started thinking, I said, okay, ask Bill Madden. He was on a project. And I was talking about a few other people. I really didn't know too many. And Rob Wilson, he said, let me have a couple of days to think about it. And he contacted me. He said, I got a great guy named Dan Epstein, who wrote some baseball books, who was very, very successful. But he was very big in the music industry, and he's done a lot of different things. And he's a beautiful writer. He's a different type of writer. He's not a stat writer, but he talks about, how it is to be a family and, put that all together. So I said, okay. So he said, let me talk to Dan. So he contacted you, right?
Right.
and you did not really, you really started thinking about, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
And I read, because you had a book that didn't work out.
Right.
That,
I had a couple of projects, not baseball ones, but music ones or a similar sort of thing where I worked with somebody who was not a writer and they told me their story and I, put it into a proposal form for a book. And, both things that I was really excited about and both which, one which just there was no interest in and one where the person I was working with went completely nuts and started demanding like a $200,000 advance and and was just and started like talking smack about our agent online, and it was just like, okay, this is a bad scene, I gotta go. So yeah, so when Rob Wilson talked to me about collaborating with you, it was like, well, all right, this is not something I'm super interested in, but you're on Blomberg and you're certainly a figure in 70s baseball. I've written about you in the context of my book, Big Hair and Plastic Grass. Like, I enjoyed Designated Hebrew. I figured it would be fun to at least have a phone conversation with you and, take it from there. And you and I hit it off right away. And I remember at the end of you and I talked for about an hour and a half. And at the end of it, you were like, so what do you think? We got a book? And I was like, yeah, I think we got a book, man. I think we should do this. And here we are.
It was really, it was a great conversation because, your major team at that particular time wasn't with the Yankees or with the Tigers.
Right.
It was Detroit Tigers. And you saw, and it's funny, and I said, I want to write a book, of course, about Thurman. He said, yeah, didn't you say that you saw him hit a home run at Tiger Stadium?
Yeah.
That was your first time you ever saw him play?
It was the first time I ever saw a Major League Baseball game. It was May 30th, 1976. My dad took me as kind of like a late birthday present. My birthday's in early May, but he got us tickets to see the Yankees because the Yankees were a big deal and they were good again and they were coming to town and he's from New York. And so we went and Thurman was behind the plate that day and Thurman hit a home run. And I decided, right there that even though I was a Tigers fan, Thurman was my favorite catcher. I just saw him kind of take control of the field. And, I already knew he was a great player, but like to see, when you're that age and you're so impressionable and you see somebody who is, even if they're not good and they do well in the first game you see, you're really impressed. But I knew he was one of the greats. And then to see him be great, it was huge for me.
When I played with Thurman and I knew that 99% of the writers hated to be around Thurman because they had no idea what he was going to do. He's going to give a one-word answer.
Right.
He's going to look at them and say, some bad words and walk to the training room. And, then you hear yelling, between Thurman and somebody. The writer's not going to yell, but he's yelling at the writer because the writer is afraid because that's our territory in there. And, other than, somebody like a Murray Allen, Dick Young, people like that, Dick Schaap, people in the media, okay? And Thurman, if he didn't want to talk to him, he would just walk away. Right. He wouldn't ever yell at any of those guys because those are our beat writers. Those are the guys that follow us the whole year.
Okay. Although he did get into it with Dick Young on a few occasions.
Oh, yeah. But he didn't destroy him like he would like 98% of the writers. Right. If you had a new writer from Connecticut, or New Jersey, or New York, one maybe the smaller paper, one of these beat writers, that really would ask a crazy question. And, Thurman, why did you strike out 4 times? And then right off the bat, you can see his veins in his neck popping out. And this guy is trying to look like he's writing and he's trying to back away from Thurman and get behind all the writers. I said, oh no. And he's three lockers away from me. And, I'm, I'm next to, who was I next to? I think, I forgot who I was next to. I think Pinella was in the locker next to me. So Pinella wanted to get out of there. He didn't want to laugh. So he goes in the training room. I'm sitting there just getting dressed and, just listening, because I love to listen to, Thurman when he gets into it, because it's like when he's on the baseball field and, if he really gets mad at a player, this is what he will do. Right. And people would not see it, because what people don't realize, if he really had to go after a player, because being the captain, he didn't make being a captain until 76. Okay. But before that, he was the team captain, but didn't have the C on his uniform. Right. He was really the team captain.
He had already assumed that responsibility. And if Thurman had to say something to somebody, he would take them into the hallway and and oh God, you can hear it. You can hear the walls shaking and stuff. But then he comes out, everything is fine. The guy will come back, everything is fine. And you knew that this guy made a mistake, and it made the team look bad, or made the pitcher look bad. So Thurman made sure that never happened again. Okay, so I used to watch him, and I said to myself, okay, people really do not realize what type of guy he really was. I did so many things. When I first came up in 68 in September for the last 30 days, the 30-day call up, Thurman was already up there also, okay? And we became very, very good friends. Right. We lived at
69. We lived at the Concourse Plaza on the Grand Concourse. We used to walk to the ballpark back and forth and back and forth. Nobody had a car back then. Number one, nobody had enough money to buy a car. Nobody had enough money for taxi cabs going from the hotel. So, we stayed at the hotel. And the good part about it was, of course, he wasn't Jewish, and being Jewish, and I was going back and forth where all the delicatessen was. And I used to go into a delicatessen called the Roxy right on 161st. And after every game, I would bring this guy. I forgot the guy. He's the owner of the deli. We used to bring him a baseball or hat. And then we always had our free pastrami and corned beef, because we couldn't afford it. Back then, the corned beef, probably we had a platter for maybe $6. Now it's like a $45 platter. So
$6 in 1969. That's steep for a couple of rookies.
They still owe me meal money. Every time I go to the stadium, I always go to the accounting office, and I always tell them, they're friends of mine in there, and they look at me, they said, no, your meal money, we haven't calculated your meal money yet. So I just wanted to say hello to you. Because I say hello, there's not too many people when I was at the stadium are still there. And the accounting people, there's like 2 or 3 of them still in there. Wow. There's a couple of people in the front office still there. And, so I go up there and say hello to them. That's what I do. Okay. But anyway, when you and I started going over the stuff with Thurman, and you are the one that had to put everything together, and you hated me. I know that Lindy's going to probably mute me because I'm talking too much, but I will let you do all the talking in a minute, okay? But I remember saying to you, okay, I'm going to talk, and you got to put it together, because number one, I'm the most unorganized person. I'm just telling people, I got about 10 Zooms, and I got WCBS that I'm doing. I got bookings that I'm doing. I got this as I'm doing. I got ESPN, this I'm doing. I got so many things, and I got it on a sheet, and I'm so disorganized. And I call up Lenny, and when he gives me the Zoom number to go on to, I lose it on my email. Okay, but everybody doesn't have everything. I don't have that. I don't have the ability for that. I said, Dan, you better be prepared, because I'll give you a lot of information you got to put it together. And I'm going to let Dan tell you a little bit how he does that. But this
Hallelujah.
guy, what did you say?
Lenny said, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Okay, I'm not going to talk much. You don't mute me. But this guy was fabulous. He is an all-star. He's a future Hall of Famer.
No.
This guy is a real deal. Let him explain what he does.
Okay, so working with Ron, I mean, you said I hated you. I never hated you. I always, how could anyone hate Ron Blomberg? But it was challenging because you have a ton of great stories, and often one would come right on top of the other, or you'd go off on a tangent, and I'd have to be like, hey, let's hold off on that. Let's finish this story, and then we'll get to that. And I'd be frantically scribbling down, so I could remind you 10 minutes later what it was that I wanted you to talk about. But, obviously it's been 45 to 50 years since a lot of these stories happened. And, through no fault of your own. I mean, it's hard to remember what year something happened, or like what other people would have been involved in this. And so that was a big challenge for me, is you would give me this great story, and then I would have to, figure out when exactly this happened, what season, where in the season. And so, I'd dive into the newspaper archives to try to figure out, if I could, find anything that related to this. And then a lot of times that would bring up something else, like, okay, you talked about this. Well, this other thing happened a week later. What about that? Do you remember this? This guy was involved. What can you tell me about this guy? And, and 9 times out of 10, you would just remember it, and or have a cool story to share about this player, or this ballpark, or this pitcher you guys faced, and how you would deal with them. And, it was so much fun. I mean, it was challenging, but it was great because, it was basically you and I talking about the Yankees in the 70s, you and I talking about Thurman. And, like I said, Thurman was my first favorite catcher. And, like, as you mentioned, for those of us who were growing up in the 1970s and into baseball for the first time, like, all we knew about the players was what we read in Sports Illustrated, what we read in the newspapers. And the whole image I got from Thurman was, at the time, was, he was a great ball player, and clearly, a leader of the Yankees, and a big force behind their success in 76, 77, 78. But, the press always portrayed him as a really grumpy, gruff, unfriendly person who did not, want to be bothered with anything other than baseball. And talking to you was so much fun for me because you did really open my eyes to a whole other side of him, several other sides of him. And I feel like that, that if I want people to take one thing away from the captain in me, it's that it's a broader dimensional portrait of Thurman, and that it's Thurman as a human being, not just as a gruff and nasty ball player. Although, to your credit, you didn't, I mean, we have some stuff in the book where Thurman is not so nice, and, where he is getting in the face of writers, or, other players who are, causing problems. And, but I thought that was important to add in there, that, this is not just, we're not deifying Thurman. Thurman was a human being. He was a complicated human being. He was a person of many moods, the dark moods that the press saw, but also the lighthearted moods that you saw, and the supportive aspects of him. How he supported you through some really dark times in your life, and that really touched me when you told me about that stuff. And I really thought, like, people need to read this. They need to know that, like, what a loyal friend Thurman was. What a deep feeling human being Thurman was. And I like to think that we captured that.
Dan, I started thinking about this probably in the middle of our interview. uh, all of a sudden it came to me, Bang the Drum Slowly.
Yeah.
And Bang the Drum Slowly, that was a movie that it was funny that Thurman and I was actually in Bang the Drum Slowly. And I was doing that. It was really fun. And it was a catcher who was dying, I think, of cancer, I believe.
Right.
And there was a pitcher that they became very, very close friends. And when they became close friends, I mean, they did everything together. And it started thinking about what did Thurman and I do? And we did so many things together. And people always ask me, even to this day, even after the book is finished, be honest with me. Tell me what was it like? What was Thurman like to people, to kids? He was a teddy bear.
Yeah.
I remember going to the Shriners. I remember doing the Jerry Lewis telethon with Jerry Lewis. I remember doing the Shriners with Marlo Thomas and Danny Thomas. And back then, that was 40 something, 50 years ago. And that was a big deal. And when he was there, he still looked rough because he still wore the same jacket that he wore for like 35 years. It was like a polyester jacket,
Right,
and he wrote it.
Jacket.
Oh yeah, did the whole thing, same sport jacket the whole road trip. So that was that. Okay, so people really wanted to know what type of person he was. When we went to the restaurants, we went to the restaurants, and we did so many things. When we went to the stage so many times together. Nat Tarnopol, who was very, very much involved in our lives, he gave me a 450 SL first. And then a week later, Thurman said, I want one. Then he became real good friends with Nat Tarnopol, who owned Brunswick Records and had the Shawlights, Jackie Wilson. He had Louis Armstrong. He had all those guys, Lionel Hampton. So, I mean, we're with these guys all the time. He said, I wanted a car. So, of course, a week later, Thurman drives his 450 SL to the players' parking lot. So he had a 450 SL. So then the next time, there was 2-3 other ball players. They said, you got to introduce me to, and Elston Howard came up to me. And he said, you got to introduce me to Nat. And Phil Rizzuto did the same thing. You got to introduce me to Nat. I said, he's not going to give you another car. So don't even start thinking about that. So we all became friends. We all became friends. And the book basically portrayed Thurman as a type of person that he really was. And he was a genuine person that his first love was Diana, his high school sweetheart. And unfortunately, he did not have a good home life at first. And really the second father that took over him was a guy named Tote. And people will understand that also, that Tote was Diana's father, and he only thing he had was a pool hall and a bar pool hall, and that's what he had, and that's what Thurman grew up with. So I mean, the book was incredible. It was done extremely well. I mean, people, if anybody could see this is my Thurman Munson. I've had about 50, 60 people already ask me for this shirt. And I didn't make it. The people actually made it in Canton, Ohio. This is 2 years ago. I think I'm going to make my own, and it's be called The Captain and Me. I'm going to sign it if people, and hey, I didn't want to be conceited, anything like that. I asked people before I even did it. I said, would people be interested in it? Because I would do it and I would sign it. People wanted me to. Maybe somebody wanted to yard work and just use it and not a signature on it. Hey, that's their business and whatever. But I had 50, 60 people yesterday and said they want 2 of them. They want 3. And they started telling me, I need an XL, I need a small, I need a 2XL. I said, you can't do this to me. Yeah,
you sure you want to get into the t-shirt business?
Oh, no, wait a second. My first order of books, I had 350 books. They left in a week. I sold 350 books. That's for Thurman. Thurman, we're getting you great publicity. And I just got another 100 and 65 of them left after 2 days. And I got another 30 on an order, but I'm gonna have to wait on that. Okay.
I may say something, Dan?
Yeah,
Because I read the book and I love the book.
thank you.
And, you know, there was the buddy stories were great and all that. And I was a kid during most of those years, or even a young adult. I guess I'm really aging myself. And, you know, so it was great reminiscing and reading those stories and how the Yankees got good again. But what I really loved about your book, and I know I had mentioned it to you before, that underlying theme about how Ron and Thurman were back-to-back #1 draft choices. And the whole thing was the two of them were going to like lead the Yankees back to glory. And Thurman was getting better and better every season, you know, when he became a great player. And Ron, when he was on the field, was a great player, but Ron unfortunately wasn't able to stay on the field. And that was sad. Plus, I guess Thurman was defending Ron against some of his more closed-minded teammates who felt he should have been on the field more. I mean, to me, that's what really made the book different from than most other baseball books I've read.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, I love baseball. I've loved baseball since I was 10 years old, but you know, as much as I love the stats and the games and the history, like it's really, you know, the human element of the game is really important to me. And it's really important that, like, you know, that this book got that across. And in my other books, I try to get that across as well. I mean, you know, we idolize these people. We, you know, what's the word? You know, we put them down when they don't perform like we want them to. We, you know, to say awful things about them, and you know, and it just, both of those things just always kind of struck me as unfair. It's like, these are human beings. These are incredibly talented human beings at doing what they're doing, but there's an emotional side to it. There's a human side to it. There are things at work, you know, whether it's, you know, your own body breaking down on you, whether it's, you know, just having the bad luck to, you know, you're going hard after a ball and you run into a wall and all of a sudden you're out for a season.
Thank you.
You know, I mean, these things happen, and they could happen to anybody. And, you know, and I think Thurman knew, you know, Thurman took a lot of beating behind the plate, but you know, he never went on the DL the entire time he was playing. But you know, I think Thurman knew, and I think Diana talks about this in the foreword that she very graciously wrote for our book, that, you know, that Thurman understood, like, what happened to you, that could have happened to him. It's, you know, it doesn't make you a bad person to get injured. It doesn't make you a bad luck charm. It doesn't make you an albatross to, like, you know, you and so many other players would, like, go all out and they wind up getting hurt, and that's it. And so, you know, I was really moved by your stories, Ron, about how, you know, you were in such a dark place for, you know, 2.5 years trying to get rehab, trying to get back on the field with the Yankees. And, you know, and by 1977, especially, I mean, everybody had kind of written you off as this lost cause, except Thurman. Thurman was there every day in the training room, just like talking you up, just, you know, pumping you up, telling you, like, your career was not over. You could still do this. You were still part of the team. You were still, you know, you still had so much to offer on so many levels. And, you know, I think we all need people like that in our lives. And Thurman was that for you. And I think, you know, even if he had been a 220 hitter, he'd be an all-star in my book just for that.
You know, I think the major thing is when you grew up, I never had any injuries before. Athletics came very, very easy for me. Football, basketball, baseball, they came very, very easy for me, okay? The God gave me the ability upstairs to be able to be an athlete, okay? Then all of a sudden, I go into the minor leagues and everything was good. I really didn't get injured. And then I come up to the big leagues. I got to put on the Yankee pinstripes, not spring training where you put the Yankee pinstripes on, but you really got to play in Yankee Stadium pinstripes, got to play in the greatest fans in the whole world, got to play from all the Jewish fans and all the Catholic fans and all the Italian fans and, all the, minorities, and, whatever. And I got to play in front of the greatest fans in the world, got to put the uniform on. Okay. Then all of a sudden, I don't know if I played, I always played hard. I always gave 120%. Then I started getting hurt. And when I got hurt, unfortunately, when I got better, I started getting hurt again.
Yeah.
And then I started getting hurt again. And I'm saying to myself, I never got hurt before in my whole life. I was always big, always weighed about 210. I always were big, strong, was never like an Aaron Judge, but I was like a baby Judge because I had that type of body because I didn't have any fat on me. It was all natural. I never lifted weights. Only thing we did was construction and we played sports. That's all.
Right.
But the toughest part, I would tell you right now, the toughest part, and it's in the book, that when you get injured and you get injured for 1 or 2, 3 times, and you miss half the season, then you miss another season, the ball players on your team will look at you and say, this guy is Jakin. And that's one word that I hated more than anything in the world because I was a guy that ran into the wall in spring training. I'm the guy that ran down the first base as hard as I can. There's a guy I broke up double plays at shortstop. There's a guy I ran into the catcher to knock the ball out.
Right.
And they call him, I'm a Jaker. And the worst part about it, people will read the book, that when Billy Martin, it was in 1977, I think, right? It was 1977.
Where you ran into the wall?
I forgot years.
Yeah, you ran into
I ran into the wall. Okay, wait.
77,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was having a super spring. I think I hit 8 or 9 home runs, hitting the ball far, long and far. And my wrist was quick as a wrist. I'm running fast as anything like that. 3 days before I was supposed to break camp, we had myself and Toy Cannon, Jimmy Wynn, who was with Houston, and he came over, I think from the Dodgers maybe, or I forgot who he came from. But anyway, Billy Martin looked at me 3 days, 4 to 5 days before we were supposed to break camp. He said, Bloomy, you're going to be my everyday DH, and we're going to use you at first base also. Okay. I said, oh, great. So I go down to spring training. I'm at spring training down in Winter Haven. I forgot who was playing center field. I have recollection of so many different players. I just remember that I remember playing left field. Okay. I forgot who hit the ball. Maybe Doug Griffin or Rico.
Yeah, it was Doug Griffin.
Doug Griffin hit the ball, the second baseman for the Red Sox. Hit me a ball. I'm running and running. I haven't played left field at all during spring training, just with hitting. He had me out there. People would tell you, the guys on the team would tell you, they never saw somebody hit the wall as so hard as I did for about 10 years in a row. My career was over with. They used to play me. They used to have not the bloops, but they used to have the injuries that people got on baseball fields. They had me down in spring training, run into the wall against Red Sox in Winter Haven. I ran into the wall in spring training. I died. Yeah. My leg, my kneecap broke, my cartilage broke, my ligaments broke, ACL, MCL. I mean, I was dying. I'm dying. And I'm never going to forget, I'm on the team bus and Billy Martin looks at me. He said, I can't believe you ran into a wall in spring training. I just released Jimmy Wynn. I don't have another DH. And that was the year that they got Carlos May.
Well, they got Carlos in 76.
76. Okay.
And then he also he played on the team in 77 as well. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's funny. My dad read the book and he called me after he read that part. And he was just so angry. He was like, what the hell was Billy Martin doing putting Ron in left field? It's like you guys just have a couple of days before you're going up to begin the season. You're out there playing a completely unfamiliar position at this point. And what the hell did he think was going to happen?
I just wanted to play.
Yeah.
Hey, I was great to play left field. But, the ball came out to me. It was slicing the left field. I hit that wall. They run out there. Billy Martin ran out there. It was Herman Snyder and Gene Monahan. Ray ran out there. I remember Herman was a little bit overweight. He's running out there. He's looked at me like that. He said, Bloomy, you better be ready. You better get up because I'm exhausted running this far out here. I remember he saying that to me. And I say, I think I killed myself like that. And I broke my glasses and my nose. I had stitches, but my knees, I had blood. I actually had bones coming out of my knee because the blood was actually shooting out of my knee. So, they wrapped it up good. Then we had to take the trip all the way from Winter Haven back to Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
And we had
a bus ride for hours.
Yeah. And I remember I was with Gene Monahan. He's holding my foot. I got ice on my leg like this, and I'm dying. It's no more pain medication I can take. And I remember Dr. Canal, they had him at the ballpark at 4:00 in the morning and looked at it. He said, Bloomy, you messed up your knee good. Yeah. Like that. And I knew my career was over with. And I knew, and from that day on, I became, I was already going through a depression already, but I started feeling good, but I felt awful. I felt awful. And the guys on the team looked at me. They wouldn't get close to me. I was a damaged goods. I was a jinx. And then I heard like little noises when I go to the clubhouse. And I always get there about 11 o'clock, so I won't hear any like little people were saying, that guy Jakin, he's Jakin. We need him on that team. For us to win, we got to have him on that team. And I'm saying to myself, what did I do? Like this. And I just died. Y'all got to get the book and you got to read the book because it's great. The book is unbelievable. I'm not going to tell you any more stories anymore. I'm not going to tell you the ending of the book. Dan, you got anything else to say?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's.
You there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's bought the book, whether they've ordered it from you, pre-ordered it from Amazon, bookshop.org. I mean, I'm really grateful for how people are responding to this. And I would say if anybody who dug the book, who's read it already, I know it's officially comes out next Tuesday, but lots of folks have read it already. Anybody wants to leave a review on Amazon, that'll help us a lot. But just in general, thank you so much. It's writing a book, as Ron said, it's a hard thing, and it's time consuming. And there was about a year there where Rob was shopping the proposal around and trying to, find a publisher that was interested, and we got turned down by a lot of places. And, and that's always discouraging. And, and like I knew all the time we had a good book, a book that people would want to read, but we just had to find the right home for it. And Rob found us one at Triumph Books in Chicago, great company. And, as soon as he told us that Triumph was interested in it, I was really excited because, I know a lot of those people already and know what a good job they do with their books. And so it's just, to finally see the book coming out after all this time. Over 2 years since you and I first started talking about this. It's so gratifying. And then to see people, buying it and raving about it, it just, it makes me feel really good. I know it makes Ron feel really good. And, one of the great things about writing books as I have in the past is that it's put me in touch with a lot of really interesting people who have become friends of mine. I feel like, with each book, my family expands wider, and, and I feel like, Ron, you're a member of my family now, and I'm really honored to be part of yours.
I feel great, Dan. And the greatest thing, I have met so many fans on this. I've had so much fun. I have no idea what social media was. Everybody told me to do it. I got involved with Lenny and Joe and now John Giacovelli. They have helped me just incredible. If it wasn't for them, I couldn't. I met so many friends. I mean, I'm not bragging. Okay, I am bragging a little bit. I feel like I'm playing again. I feel like I'm coming up in the world again, but I'm making these people happy. And that's one thing I'm doing. But one thing I really want to do, I want to put this guy in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I told Diana, I said, this is what I want to do. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. This guy saved my life. Unfortunately, I wasn't around to, help him, but I know that he's looking at me. I'm wearing his shirt. People love him. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to do everything in the world I can to get all my fans. All the books that we sell, if they see that we sold thousands and thousands and thousands of books, and we sold thousands already.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how many thousands, but we sold thousands of books already. We have, and Dan will tell you. And and they said this is the hottest book they have had in the last 6 or 7 years. Okay, but it's because of this guy right here.
Yeah,
they want him in the Hall of Fame. I want him in the Hall of Fame. I met fans. I just want to let you know I love you to death. I did this because unfortunately, it was a time in our life that we went through that nobody's ever gone through this before, but we have reached people that people found a little bit of life in sports. And I found a life. And, I'm helping my friend. And there's one thing I'm going to do is help Diana and Mike. And I want to be able to see Diana accept the Hall of Fame plaque that Thurman should be in. He is our captain. He still is our captain. He's a Hall of Famer. I want that Hall of Famer in back of his name. Thurman Munson, Hall of Fame. It would make me very, very happy. And fans, I love you. If it wasn't for y'all, we would not be here. We made a lot of people happy. I know that I might get on your nerves and, a little bit, but only thing I try to do is make you happy. And
in that tone, Ron, I just wanted to mention that on Twitter, you just recently, actually while we were live, you passed 3,000 followers on Twitter. And that's without a confirmed blue check mark. And I'm sure it's only going to grow from there. And I think you want to give your website or something?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Big Hair Plasgrass. That's PLASGRAS. And my blog is www.bighairplasticgrass.com.
Well, I'm on Twitter, but I have no idea how to do it.
At Ron Blomberg 1.
Oh, he helps me with my Twitter. I just look at it. I look at the pictures. It's like a comic book. That's what I look at. But my Facebook, my webpage is Ron Blomberg. It's 1 O. It's not 2 O's. People spelling it with 2 O's. It's Ron Blomberg, BLOMBERG. Ron Blomberg 12 at gmail.com. Go to it. You could get a book, sign. And also, if you do purchase a book from Amazon, I'll sign it for you. But you have to sign a stamped envelope and send it to me because I got books, I got envelopes here. I have no idea who I'm sending it to. If you get 4 or 5 different books from me, I made a mistake. But I'm sorry. But I
pass them out to your friends.
No, I just want to let Lenny, I know I tell you all the time how well you do, but Lenny does an unbelievable job, and he really does. And and thank you. I wouldn't be here right now. I'll probably be out watering my. I just bought some azaleas, and the guy that put them in, because I don't know how to put it in, and and now I'm watering. I'm taking like buckets of water, and watering the stuff. I said it got to be easier. Let it rain. We haven't had any rain in a little while. But Dan, I'm really happy that we found each other, and we are going to have a great time. I think it's going to be a time that we can go out to maybe Barnes and Noble or Sirius or a Fox, CNN, and any of these places. also, the greatest thing, well, you haven't talked about the Wall Street Journal.
Oh
I
yeah, we
never
got a
even
great
knew.
great review in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. That doesn't hurt.
I want the New York Times. I want the New York Times.
I hope we get
But
one.
that made me so happy. But people don't realize, I'm going to tell you what it is. It was 25 last week in baseball books. It's number 13 now. And we're not even out yet.
Yeah, not officially, no.
We're not even out yet. Fans, we would not be there if it wasn't for y'all.
Yeah.
Because we could talk all day long.
You do?
And half the time, no. Half the time, I don't know when, like Dan said.
Dan, you know why he was being nice to me just a couple of minutes ago? Because I told him I had to go like 25 minutes ago.
No. But Lenny's having a good time now. When I see him smiling, he's having a good time. But people don't realize how tough it is to write a book and how to keep an interest. And, and people, there's so many people who love the cover of the book.
Oh, yeah.
And also, Sunday, if you get the daily news, it's going to be in the paper. Plus, it's going to be in the daily news on the social media. .com or dailynews.com.
On the website,
they do a 2-page article about me in the book.
Excellent.
And I'm pushing this. We will. I'm telling you. And you're telling me about 3,000 people on Twitter. I have no idea what that means. I wish it was 3,000 hits. I have no idea. You said, but I'm looking at all these people that Twitter, and they got 4,250,000. And I said, I got 3,000. I said, this can't be right. Maybe I could put another 0 on the back of it, make me look a little bit better. But anyway, hey, that doesn't make a bit of difference to me. What makes a bit of if y'all watch this, if you get the book, even if you don't like Thurman, it's a great book. Here, look at the book right here. It's a wonderful book. It's not a baseball book where it's going to be averages and stuff. We don't even know averages. I don't know averages. I don't even know anything.
But we include a few averages. It's
a few, but hardly enough. But I don't even know. A lot of these. Dan, when we're with some different people like Barry Manilow and Burt Bacharach and Soupy Sales and Tommy James and Shondells and Jay Black and Frankie Valli. Dan knew a lot of last names of all these people, and I have no idea how he did it.
I mean, that was one of the fun things too, and is that you and I both love music as well as baseball. So, and I especially love music of the 60s and 70s. So we kind of speak the same language there as well.
And he's a real Dan really likes the contemporary hard rock. Can I say that?
Yeah.
You like contemporary hard rock, and I'm a soul guy. I'm an Otis Redding, Joe Tex, and
I love that stuff too. So
these are my guys. Hey, Mary Wells, my guy. Remember that?
Mm-hmm, of course.
Oh, we used to play all that. It was myself, Roy White, Mickey Rivers. All these guys, we used to play all the soul music, the Dramatics and the Intruders, and so we really had a wonderful time. But I know that Lenny, the good part about doing it this time of the night, Lenny doesn't usually eat till 9, so we could go for another hour, big guy. You want to go for another hour, Lenny? Nothing's ready. I know he's ready to go. But hey, I wanted to let you know again. Hey, people. We're making this book very popular. I think what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the book. Get the book. You'll love it. Even if you don't get it through me, you get it through Amazon. I'll sign it. Don't worry. But you got to get a self-addressed stamped envelope. I'll sign it for you. Don't worry about any of that stuff. I hope to meet you at the stadium. If I'm walking in, if you see me, please don't hesitate to talk to me. And what are you going to play? That means I got to go. Hey, fans, I love you. Dan, it's great talking with you. Lenny, I love y'all, big guys. Fans, I love you. Can't wait till I see you. Get the book. You'll love it.